So it is Disability Pride Month, and today I'm going to talk about scoliosis. This is the Scoliosis and Chronic Pain Pride Flag. So this would be my pride flag for Disability Pride no matter what, because I also have fibromyalgia. So let's talk about what scoliosis is. It is a curvature of the spine going this way. So the spine will be going like this. I can't do a real scoliotic spine because scoliotic spine? Anyway, because this thing's all one solid piece of plastic for the spine, which would be terrible in your body. There are also conditions that can affect this side of the view, but they're called kyphosis and lordosis. I'm not sure which is which, but one of them affects and makes this curvature in your upper spine much more pronounced, and one of them makes this curvature down here like much more pronounced, and I have both of those. Now let's talk about the types of scoliosis. There are three major types. One is adolescent idiopathic scoliosis, which is the most prevalent type because all that means is that we don't actually know what caused this scoliosis. Then you have neuromuscular scoliosis, which is often the kind of scoliosis that you get when you have nerve disorders or muscular disorders such as cerebral palsy. And then there is the occasional congenital scoliosis where we do know what caused it and we know when it started. Now let's talk about severity, which is where we get to the meat of the problem. Okay, so mild scoliosis is generally not disabling, generally doesn't come with a whole lot of symptoms besides that curvature of the spine, and is characterized by between a 10 and 24 degrees curve in the spine. And I can't even make that small of a curve with my hand. Moderate scoliosis is often comes with more symptoms and is characterized by having between 25 to 39 degrees of curvature in your spine. And severe scoliosis is characterized by more than 40-degree angle. I have a 37-degree angle in my spine, and then I believe it was a 29-degree compensatory curve, which means my spine was trying to compensate for the original curve by making another curve that kind of made you go backwards. So I have a moderate curve, and my compensatory curve is also in the moderate zone. And I also have what's called spinal stenosis, which is a narrowing in the center of the vertebrae, the part where your spinal cord is trying to pass through. So what that means for my day-to-day life, okay? So first off, I've always had back pain, always. Some activities have always made it worse, like jogging. Jogging was the worst thing in PE class. Hands down, even jumping jacks were better than jogging. So now what does that mean for my daily life? It means that I've always had pain in my lower back, always. Even when I was a child younger than my son, my back hurt. And if I did certain activities, it hurt worse, like a lot worse. When I was a little kid, it wasn't a lot of pain daily, unless I was sitting without back support for any length of time. Like crisscross applesauce, like they made you do at all the assemblies. Or if I was jogging. Oh, jumping jacks were bad too, but jogging was the worst. But otherwise, I barely noticed that I hurt at all, most days. As time went on, however, I started experiencing arthritis and nerve damage. One of the most terrifying progressions that's happened in the last couple of years has been actually when the pain in my legs stopped. Because for a while there, I used to get sciatic nerve pain running down my legs if I overdid it. But now, I don't get that. When I overdo it, my hips will get stiff. My upper spine will get to this point where it even kind of stops hurting a little. And I will lose feeling from my hips down to my knees. And if I keep going long enough, I will lose it all the way down to my ankles and into my heel. Which is far more pleasant. Like, to experience that over the actual pain I used to get, much more pleasant. also not necessarily a good sign. And I've been talking about it with my doctors, and we're going to do another nerve function test soon. On a somewhat lighter note, apparently my breath was offensive. On a somewhat lighter note, though, the scoliosis is also responsible for the fact that I have been reprimanded by church authorities in various churches my whole life for this. For showing my shoulder and, because I'll put the shirt up and 5 minutes later it would be back down on that shoulder. So let's talk about my weight now. So it presents some interesting issues because on the one hand, it will increase the chance of complications if I ever do have a surgery to correct my spine. On the other hand, however, it may be the reason why I can still walk. The fat is entirely possible that the fat is holding my spine in place and preventing it from degenerating quicker. And that is not just my theory. I have spoken to multiple neurologists and at least 2 neurosurgeons who have said basically the same thing. That they would prefer if I lost weight, but if I lose weight, I may lose my ability to walk quick. And since I've already done a 6-minute video, I might as well go on and add the reason why I have never gotten a surgery. Because it's terrifying. My scoliosis starts at T6 and goes all the way down to L6. I have a 6th lumbar vertebrae. And on each of those vertebrae, from T7 down, there has been some alteration of the shape of the vertebrae. So instead of a nice rectangle shape, most of them are some form of triangle or polygon. So that means that in order to do this surgery, and any surgeon who tackles my spine would have to create a partial vertebrae to insert on my spine for 12 vertebrae. And when you are doing a spinal surgery, every single vertebrae that you have to alter in some way increases the chance of complications exponentially. Because the vertebrae are where the spinal canal is, where all of the nerves from every part of your body go through to get to your brain. And so the last surgeon that I spoke with, he seemed very optimistic that he could do the surgery, which is better than the one before. But he also cautioned against it because of my weight and because of the recovery period, which would be around a year of laying flat on my stomach for most of that year. And all 3 of the surgeons that I have consulted with have all said basically the same thing, that if it were them, they would wait until they were in a wheelchair before doing this surgery because it has a chance of restoring the ability to walk, but it also has a chance of causing that to progress faster.